Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sana Faruqi, Assistant Professor from the Department of English, BSSS. Today we are going to understand Unit 1 named Communication. Before heading for the topic, I want to ask you a rhetoric question that how do you say that somebody is really confident? Or let me reframe the sentence, how do you feel that somebody's body language is pretty confident? Or let me again reframe it, how do you find confidence in somebody? Well, answers are many. We can say a perfect body language, we can say an eye contact, we can say putting a smile on the face can hide the nervousness, or we can say the way you speak, that is your communications. Right, let us start with the core of this topic. Let us start with the term called communication. Yes, what will be the agenda of today's class? Today, we'll try to understand the term communication with many lenses. First, we'll understand the term. What is the meaning of this particular word? Second, we'll focus on characteristics of communication. Third will be the process. What is the process of doing communication? Fourth will be what are the types? Although there are many types, we'll focus on each and every topic, each and every type in a distinct way. Fifth one is 7 C's of communication. That is, what are the 7 basic C's which are must in communicating to somebody. Sixth is barriers to communication. Yes, we have some barriers also which somewhere put a kind of obstacle or hurdle to make your information known to the person to whom you're talking to difficult. Last but not the least, that is 7th, ways to improve it. So we will focus on all these 7 points in today's agenda. Let's talk about the terminology called communication. Well, this is a term which is taken from the Latin terminology which is called communicatio. Yes, this term has been descended from the Latin noun which meant sharing or imparting. That means if we want to communicate, communication, the core definition of this term is sharing your thoughts, emotions, feelings, or your views. Now, let us focus on the term in little bit depth. Communication, it is something which is omnipresent. Now, the term omnipresent means this is something which is present everywhere. Let me tell you, students, that we cannot sustain in our life, we cannot sustain or we cannot survive if we will not communicate. Be it a human being, be it an animal, we need to express ourselves. We are all dependent on each other. So this is something which is omnipresent. Point number 2 is saying this is universal in nature. This is something which can be used and which can be found anywhere in the nature, anywhere in the universe. We cannot sustain without this thing. Third is social process. Now, well, it is for social process because we actually depend on others to convey our message. And until and unless you will not be understood by the person to whom you are talking to, your communication would definitely be failed. Let us focus on the 4th point, that is common medium. Yes, the most common medium of communication is language. Although there are many ways and there are many means to communicate, there can be body language, there can be gestures, there can be non-verbal, verbal ways to communicate, but right now the most common concept to communicate is a language. That means we need to focus on the language to adhere with the oral communication. Now let us focus on the process of it. Communication process, it says the term refers to the exchange of information, that is your message, between 2 or more people. That means you cannot talk to yourself. Come on, you need to have somebody to talk to. That means at least we should have 2 people to make a communication possible. Point number 2 says, for communication to succeed, both the parties must be able to exchange information and understand each other. If I will not be understood by you, my communication would not be completed. If you will not give me the feedback, I won't think that my message has been understood by you. That means there is a kind of cycle which has been prepared while communicating to somebody. We'll focus on the cycle in the next slide. Let us move on the next bullet that says, if the flow of information is blocked for some reason or the parties cannot make themselves understood, then automatically communication fails. We will focus on communication failure in the next slide. First, let us try to understand the process of this. Now, let us have a look on this picture. You can see that there is a girl who has been sitting and maybe lunching with a boy. Now, what is it? There is a communication going on. Let us try to understand this picture with the cycle of process being used here. Communication is the process of sending and receiving messages through verbal and non-verbal means. We'll focus on verbal and non-verbal in different particular section. First of all, right now we have to focus on the process of it. Let us see. There is a girl who has been sitting and must be eating something. Now, what is there in it? She is a sender. She will give a review on the food she has taken. Now, she's a sender. She has a message that she really liked the food. She wants to say to the receiver that your food smells delicious. Now, there is a sender. Try to understand. There is a girl who is a sender who sends a message. The message is that your food smells delicious. Whereas, there is a boy who has been sitting in front of that girl who again wants to reply, revert and give response to that girl who has just spoken to him. Now, he wants to say thanks. Now, this is a receiver. The boy here is playing a role of a receiver. He receives the message from a girl that food smells delicious. He wants to say thanks. Now, he has been giving a feedback of thanks for liking the food. But you can see there are bubbles of thought being drawn at the back of this boy. Now, what is it? He has been interpreting or maybe decoding the encoded message that she wants to try another bite. Maybe she has been liking the dish and she wants to have another try of it. That means this is a kind of interpretation of that particular meaning. Let's have a look on the process of communication. Yes, we need 7 factors, or you can say 7 milestones to complete the process of communication. Let's have a look on the right side of your slide. Sender. First one is sender, the one who sends the message. Second is encoding. Third is message. Fourth is saying decoding. Fifth is saying receiver. Sixth is saying response. Seventh is saying feedback. Now, let us understand these 7 words with this picture. There is a boy, again in this picture, who has been standing with another boy. Now, what has been given here? The boy who has been talking to the receiver is called a sender because he has been sending the message. He has something to share. Now, what is the message? That is a kind of encoded message in his mind. He is going to encode it. He is going to transmit it via media or channel. It can be verbal, it can be oral, it can be written, it can be body language, it can be gestures. That is not important here. The important thing is we need to understand the chain of this cycle. So, message is the third point. Fourth is decoding. Now, what is decoding? Decoding means when somebody is giving you a message, he has been giving you an encoded message. You need to decode it. You need to understand the mindset of the person to whom you are talking to. So, fourth is saying decoding. Fifth is just receiving of that message. Sixth is you are giving the response, and seventh is a feedback. Let us understand this particular slide with the next picture. There are 2 people you can see on your screen. Left one, there is an interpretation, decoding, encoding has been written. Now, there is a person who has been sharing an encoded message, and another person who has been standing here, he has been trying to decode the message, and then only he will be able to give the feedback. If you have still not understood anything, let us understand this picture. Now, I am going to convert this particular session with a practical one. You can see the screen that there are students who have been seeing the screen of the laptop. When you will watch this video, you would try to understand that I am trying to explain you what communication is. That means here, what is my role? My role is I'm a sender. Why? Because I'm sending you a message. What is the message? I'm explaining you unit 1 called communication. That means I'm a sender. What is encoding? Encoding means with my own experience, observation, in my life, I have been trying my level best to explain you with that encoded, thoughts that, yeah, this is communication. That means it is encoding, interpretation in your own terms. Now, what is it? You are the receiver, you are the students, you are trying to understand what I am trying to explain you. So you are receiving it and decoding the message as per your own knowledge. You all must be from graduation, second semester. So you would understand this topic as per your own, age experience. You will understand communication with your own prior knowledge to this particular topic. So somewhere you would decode that, yes, this has been taught to you. That is called decoding. And once you will understand what I am trying to explain you today, you will give the feedback in the comment box and you would say that, yes, this is communication, this is not communication, or these are the characters of communication. So once the cycle would be completed, this is called process of communication, where I would start with the sender and would complete with the feedback which I will get in the chat box down. Now let us try to understand the communication process here. The term communication process refers to the exchange of information, that is, we are talking about the message, between two or more people. What has been given there? For communication to succeed, both parties must be able to exchange information and understand each other. If the flow of information is blocked for some reasons or the parties cannot make themselves understood, then communication fails. Let me try to explain it in a practical way. Suppose if I'll use a language which has not been known to you. Suppose if I'll explain you communication with some different alien language which you have never ever gone through, you may not be able to understand anything. Only you can see and observe my body language, that I have been using my gestures, I'm pointing fingers on you, I've been smiling and I have been just making an eye contact with you. But language would not be known to you. That is the most important thing, that if you want to understand the communication, the language should be known to you. Let us focus on this slide. Yeah, this slide has been explaining the cyclical exchange. We are talking about the cycle. It was shared in the process. Now, as a cyclical exchange of message, that goal of communication is to ensure that you have moved an idea in your head into someone else's head so that they understand your idea as you understood it. So basically what you have to do, whatever is there in my mind, it should reach you the way I have been keeping. Then only I will be called as a perfect communicator. Otherwise, somewhere my communication would fall. Let us try to understand these terminologies which we shared in the process. The first one is sender. As it is very easy, sender means the one who has been sending you the message, the one who has been explaining you. Here right now I am a sender because I am sending a message on the term called communication. It can be a command, it can be a request, it can be a question, it can be an idea that he or she wants to present to others. The sender must first encode the message in a form that can be understood, such as by the use of a common language or industry jargon, and then transmit it. The second terminology is the medium. As we just discussed about it, let me again explain you in this slide what is the medium. Right now, I have been teaching you the topic called communication. What is the medium? I have been using my tongue. I am using my vocal cords. I am talking to you. I am audible to you. I can be heard by you. That means I have been using oral communication. Students, there are many ways of communicating. There are many ways of sharing that information. I can also use my body language to explain you. Just remember the game Dumb Charades which we used to play in our childhood. That is also a kind of, conveying of message. So there are many types of communication. We'll discuss about that in the next slide. First, focus on the medium. Right now, the medium being used is oral communication. It can be a text message, it can be an email, it can be a letter, it can be a gesture, it can be an eye contact. Medium varies from situation to situation and time to time. Now this picture is explaining you different mediums. Now we have been talking about mediums, so let us focus on mediums. There are two people you can see on your screen. They have been sharing their brains, their thoughts in the picture. You can share your thoughts, emotions, feelings via phone, via mobile, email, letter, anything can be used. These are all considered as ways, or you can say medium, by which you can share the information or receive the information. Third term is message. Now, this is the most important thing. The message, it's the information which is shared by the sender. Right now, my message is to understand the concept of communication. Something which is very important to make yourself easy to understand, that is your tone. We should always keep this thing in our mind that when we are talking to somebody, we should not sound monotonous. I should not sound like as if I'm a dead body. I should keep intonation, voice modulation, stress in my language. If I'll explain this term to you that communication is this is saying this and this is saying that, you will not understand, anything in that. The modulation, voice modulation, intonation, stress is very important, which makes your speech alive. So your message, if you have been going through or if you are going with oral communication, always keep this thing in your mind that you have to give life to your statements by putting intonation, voice modulation, stress in that speech. Fourth is the receiver, that is you. You all have been understanding, trying to understand and listening to me carefully. You all are receivers. You are trying to understand the message. Now, you are the receiver, or you can say the person who receives the message is called the receiver, the interpreter, or the one who has been comprehending the message, right? Next one is saying feedback. Now, it is very important. Without this, a cycle cannot be completed. I will not be satisfied with my lecture if I will not get a response from you. Suppose I will explain you everything, be it an offline class. Suppose I am in an offline class, I have been teaching, you all have been sitting here noticing my body language, noticing my lecture, but you are not able to give me a response. I will somewhere feel that I am not able to explain myself, or maybe I'll take it otherwise and would think that I'm not a perfect communicator. Maybe I don't have a good command on my language, or maybe I have not a good command on my topic or my subject. So feedback is very important. If you have understood the message by the sender, you actually have to give the feedback. Here, what will be my feedback? Whatever you have understood, you can share your thoughts down in the comment box. That would give me a feedback that yes, something has been understood by you today. So the feedback takes receiver, and whatever you have understood is called, as a feedback. You can give your feedback in a written way, oral way, text, email. There are many ways which can be focused in the next slide. Okay, so let us take a quick review of what have we understood today. We have tried to understand the term communication. I discussed that this is a term which is Latin in nature. This is a Latin noun which is called communicatio, which means sharing or imparting of information. We talked about the process and characteristics of communication. We discussed in detail that what are the tools or what are the areas, or we can say what are the things which are required to make the communication possible. So we have understood the process by understanding these 7 terms here. And in this way, we are done with the topic called what is communication, what are the characteristics of it, what is the process of it. In the next class, we'll start with a new topic with some new learnings on it. Thank you so much.